Hello again, boys, girls, lady boys, and Z's. So this is another fine, beautiful, magnificent day down here in the Smoky Mountains, down here in Gatlinburg. Gatlin, no S, Berg, Tennessee. So I keep wanting to say Gatlinburg. And I keep getting told, that is wrong, Eli, that is wrong. It is Gatlinburg. So yes, we're right outside of Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And we've been doing all the hiking and stuff, and it has been a good time. Again, so far, as I was saying before, like 2 months ago, I was all like arrogant about how somebody would be so jealous of what I was doing, and then everything went downhill really quickly after that. Now, this adventure, this is what we're talking about. Everything is going splendidly well here. So we're down here in Gatlinburg, Smoky Mountains. We've done a lot of hiking. And this is just an absolutely beautiful area. Like the Smoky Mountains National Park is one of those weird parks where it's really easy to overlook. Because it's not like the other national parks. It's really not. Like you go to Glacier National Park, and it's hard to explain Glacier National Park, but Glacier National Park is like, right? It is like, holy crap, that place is amazing, right? You go to Yellowstone, obviously you got the buffalo running around, like we have squirrels in other places. You know, you got all the geothermal features and all that kind of stuff. So Yellowstone, right? You know, you go to Grand Canyon, and you see the Grand Canyon. I have to say, both my wife and I, when we went to see the Grand Canyon, we're like, yeah, whatever, it's a hole in the ground, right? Again, that's why you go out and you adventure and you see things. Because you have this idea in your head about what something is. And so we were thinking about the Grand Canyon. And we're like, okay, we're going to go see a hole in the ground. Woo! And we're going to go see a hole in the ground because you should see a hole in the ground once in your life, right? And then you get there, and then you're at the edge of the Grand Canyon. And it's just this vast, gaping expanse. It's not a hole, it's an expanse, right? And you're just like, oh my God. And we spent 9 days there. And we'll go back, and I mean, you can easily spend a month. Like, you don't think about it, like I said, a hole in the ground, right? But you can easily spend like a month in Grand Canyon National Park just seeing all that, just amazing stuff, right? Especially the hikes. One reason you spend a month isn't necessarily because there's like 30 amazing hikes you can do. There probably are. It's more like, you do one amazing hike, and take a day to recover. And do another amazing hike, and take a day to recover. It takes a lot of recovery there. It's a lot of, as I was saying, Grand Canyon National Park, down is optional, up is not. When we say up, talking up, right? But that's the thing, like you go to all these other national parks, even like Acadia, there's like it's just a very vivid thing. There's like, you know why you go. Smoky Mountains isn't that way. It's like this massive area. And when you first see it, it's nice enough, but it just seems like Appalachia. Like, you drive through, and you're like, hey, look, there's green trees, and look, there's streams, and I mean, yeah, it's nice, but the thing is you go, and you just do all of these hikes, and there's just so much. I think the Smoky Mountains is a very well-rounded park. Like, most of the other parks really aren't well-rounded. You know why you're there, and you're there to see that thing, and right? But with Smoky Mountain National Park, you got walks along amazing streams, and you've got walks up to the tops of mountains. But the thing is, like the tops of mountains, we have the Gregory Bald, whatever. We do this one hike, and the thing is, it's not just you get to the top of the mountain. So normally you could do these hikes, you get to the top of a mountain, and you're at the top of the mountain, and whatever, you get to see the scenery, yay! But like we went to this one, I think it's called Gregory Bald or Greg Bald or something like that, and you get up there. And at the top of the mountain, the entire top of the mountain is covered with azaleas, right? So we got to see it. And so all the azaleas bloom in like the end of June. So you go up there, and then not only are you at the top of the mountain, you see what you normally do at the top of the mountain, but you're just in this massive just field of these azalea bushes, which is just amazing. Azaleas are a type of flower. Normally here in the United States, they're like an ornamental flower. Like, there's an azalea, and there's an azalea, and there's an azalea over there. You don't normally see just a field of these azalea bushes. Absolutely amazing. So we've been having a good time here, all in all. Having a good time here. We have one more hike. We leave on Tuesday, so we'll be going out tomorrow. But overall, again, like I say, thumbs up. Though I do have to say, it is about 110% humidity here, and it is summertime weather. Summertime in the big country. And so I would say if you're going to come to the Smoky Mountains, probably spring and fall may be the best times to come here. Because it's good enough now, and again, I mean, we go up there and we sweat, because that's what we do. But I mean, like, I go on these hikes and my shirts are dripping sweat. Because again, even when it's not that hot, even when it's still like 80 degrees, you've got like 110% humidity, so your body heat goes nowhere, right? So basically, when we go on these hikes, my shirt is dry for about 15 minutes. About 15 minutes. At the 30-minute mark, it's definitely wet, and about the 45-minute mark, it is just soaking water. So it depends on what you like in life, right? What you prefer. Again, it's definitely not bad hiking. It's not like, oh, you can't do it in June or July. I'm just saying, if you got a little flexibility, you know, retired or any of that kind of stuff, really think about the fall or spring. Because again, it's just so humid. And it gets warm here. It definitely gets warm. Anyways. Oh, that's what we've been doing. Great time though, great time. We love, we did have the down day yesterday, so we did a lot of hiking. And then we decided to have a down day yesterday. And the weird thing around here, I've never been to a place quite like this before, because you have the Great Smoky Mountains, right? Again, just amazing national park, but it's really like it's not what I would consider a tourist national park, right? You know, again, like Grand Canyon, you can get on a tour bus, the tour bus drops you off, you go, wow, Grand Canyon, you go to the gift shop, you leave. Right here, I mean, it's a lot of, I mean, like, to see something amazing, you got to hike like 5 miles. Which is really weird, because we have Gatlinburg right outside of Smoky Mountains, and you have Pigeon Forge, right? And the weird thing is, though, I've never been to a place like this, because, like, there's not a ski resort here, there's not water features, and it's not like a big lake and people boating or anything like that. But you go in, and you go to Gatlinburg, and like yesterday we went in, and it's the bizarrest place in the world, because you go there, and there's like one shop, like outdoor store, and it's actually really good. There's a really good outdoor store. If you come into Gatlinburg, you go all the way, like right till you're about to hit the park, and on your left there's this big outdoor store, and on the right there's a Marathon gas station. Go into that outdoor store if you need anything. They have everything. They have like an entire North Face section. Like, this is just North Face, but they've got tents, and they've got shirts, and they've got maps. They got maps and books and all that kind of stuff, right? That's a great place. But everything else, like, we were walking through it, and it's just such the weird, like, touristy place. It's like the bizarrest tourist place in the world. There is nothing of any quality in that place other than like the one outdoor store. But you like walk through there, and it's really bizarre because there's nothing really of quality. There's a bunch of like moonshine stores, which I don't get. Again, I spent a lot of time in West Virginia growing up, West by God, Virginia, growing up, and yeah, moonshine was never really anything that anybody there was proud of. And moonshine was something that existed, definitely did exist, and people did pass around bottles of moonshine, but it was never anything like people really like, ooh, you got some moonshine. It was more like, yeah, you got some moonshine. Got anything else? But the one weird thing is, you go in there are moonshine distilleries and all that. But you go, and it's so weird because you go there, and it's all these like fat people, like walking through Gatlinburg, that I can't imagine could go fucking 2 miles on a trail. And again, no offense to them. I mean, I got a little belly, right? I got a little mini kegger going on. I do not have a 6-pack belly. But the thing is, like, I look like a track star compared to the people there, right? I mean, and you're just, it's like the weird thing. So you go through there in like Gatlinburg, there is just no, I don't understand what that is. And then we went to Pigeon Forge yesterday, and that place is just bizarre. Again, I used to talk about, I want to be from Pigeon Forge because that sounded cool, like they forged pigeons. Oh, pigeons are made of steel. Let me just say, now, having been to Pigeon Forge, I can definitely say they do something to pigeons. I can definitely say they do something unnatural to pigeons. I'm not really sure what it is, and I'm not sure I really want any part of whatever unnatural crap they're doing to pigeons. That is just, Pigeon Forge is just bizarre. You go through, and again, it looks like a place that should be like an Ocean City or Atlantic City, or like maybe like a Las Vegas-y type place. You go down, and they've got all this weird touristy crap, but it doesn't seem to like have like any rhyme or reason. It's just all these places you drive through. It's the bizarrest place. I've literally never seen anything like Pigeon Forge before. But we went there, went to this place called the Island, which was, again, it's just a weird touristy place you have to drive through. And again, talk about the whole belly thing here. Oh my golly, these people have bellies. It's like Attack of the Bellies. So we go to this place called the Island, which is basically just a little shopping. It's like a newfangled shopping area. It has, you know, a Ferris wheel, and it has some stuff in there, right? So we go and we park in the big old parking lot. They gave you a hint about how bad the belly issue is here, and like, I may sound like a smartass about it, but it really is true. Is when you go to the Island, like the parking lot, and the parking lot really isn't that big a deal. It's a parking lot, right? And they have a shuttle service to take you, and it's not like a shuttle service as in one stupid little van going around. They have this like shuttle train thing to take people from the parking lot to the Island, which isn't actually even an island. It's a weird place. Then you look around, it's like, this is why people have those bellies. This is why people have those bellies. Because you were literally walking from the parking, and we did. Because I was like, there's no way in hell I'm getting on that stupid ass shuttle. So like, we walked from our parking space to the Island, and then back again, and it really was like, no big deal. It was like, it was a parking lot. It's a big parking lot. I'll give you, it's a big parking lot. But you're like, you really need a shuttle service for this? I'm thinking if you're getting out of that parking lot, and you're like, whoo, I need that shuttle. You probably need a few other things. You need a few other things first. A couple of bananas in your diet, some greens, some roughage, some fiber, some exercise. That's the thing. It's like if you're at the Island and you get out in the parking lot and you're like, woo, I need that shuttle. That is the first indication that the last fucking thing in the world you need is a shuttle. If you're sitting there going, oh, thank golly, they got a shuttle, then it's like, don't use that shuttle. Because believe me, if you think I need a shuttle, and like literally, like the place is like right there. It's like maybe it's not that far away. But anyway, so we went there. That was weird. And then we went to the Titanic Museum. That was actually pretty cool. I do have to say the Titanic Museum was pretty cool, all in all, though depressing as hell. Depressing as hell. Do not take kids to the Titanic Museum. It was so sad. Well, because here's the thing: like you go to the Titanic Museum. And I was expecting with the Titanic Museum to be a lot of, engineering type stuff. This is how the Titanic was built, and here are the schematics, and, this is how the rivets got sheared off, and that kind of thing. And what was interesting, though, it is interesting to its own degree, is that they really focused a lot more on the people, so the actual passengers on board. And they talked about all these different people, and then how they fucking died horribly. But the thing was, it was so focused on the people that it was like really depressing in a lot of ways. Like there was a couple of places where like my wife's eyes like teared up. Like they had like this one story of there was like this retail magnate. He owned like Macy's or something like that. And then, it was all women and children on lifeboats first, which basically means there were only half as many lifeboats as they needed. So it basically meant women and children on lifeboats. Like, the death rate for men was like horrible. It's like you look at, because they showed like the different death rates for first class, second class, and third class passengers, or the survival rates. And literally, it was so bad. First class male passengers had a 12% survival rate. So it does show you, as much as you may give first class people crap, only 12% of them survived the Titanic, and they were the ones above ship and all that. They went down, but anyways, it was like brought tears to, or got my wife a little teary because they had this thing, this retail magnate or whatever, and he tells his wife to get on the lifeboat, and the wife looks at him and says, I always go where you're going. And so, like, she didn't get on the lifeboat and sank with him. And that was a thing. Like, very, very touching stories. But it was so sad, because it's like, you get sad. And what happens is, when you first start out, they give you this little note card with a biography of somebody that was on the Titanic. And the thing is, as you learn about the Titanic and all that kind of stuff, then at the end, you figure out if your person survived or not, right? And it was so sad, because you get to the end, and there's this whole wall of poor bastards who died, right? And there's this kid just sitting on a bench, and his mom comes up to him and is like, do you want to see if your person survived? This is like this little 10-year-old kid. The 10-year-old kid was like, no, I don't want to know. Just you look at this kid, and you're like, oh my God, that is harsh. It's like, Yeah, take this kid down to like Wonderworks or something, or take this kid to like Ripley's Believe It or Not. Take it like a 10-year-old kid, like, here, we're going to emotionally invest, have you get emotionally invested with this person that was on the boat. Let's see if they lived or not. It's like, oh. But they really do. They actually do a really good job of giving you an emotional connection with the people that were on the ship. Well, you know, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Oh, when I want to have my little down day and not think about things and rest my legs, I don't necessarily want to have an emotional connection with a ship full of people that die in a really horrible. You know, it's not, yeah, right. But anyway, so we did see the Titanic Museum. I do have to say, like I say, $23 or whatever to get in. And it is weird because you go through and you don't think it would be much. In a lot of ways, it's not much. A lot of ways, it's just photographs. It's like 90% of it is photographs and like a couple of artifacts, but a couple of stupid artifacts, like whatever. But they actually do a good job of it. It's actually a very good example of what you can do with not much of anything. Because I do have to say, like, you go there, I mean, this isn't like, it's not like you're going to see big parts of the ship preserved or anything like that. There's nothing like, oh my golly about this thing. But they do a really good job with what little they have. They take a little bit and then they turn it into something that I found. Because I think it took like an hour or so to get all the way through the museum. So like I say, just don't go there if you're depressed. I know like a lot of viewers or whatever have been noticing like doing videos about how to get over depression is a big thing on YouTube right now. But I do have to say, like, if anybody here is like depressed, do not see the Titanic exhibit. Do not, stay away. Go see Ripley Believe It or Not, because it's like, yeah. But anyways, that's what we did yesterday, and then we went and we had a nice buffet. Oh, it was nice. It was a good buffet. I got to have meat. It was a meat buffet. I had so much meat that I was actually embarrassed to sit across from my wife. Because my wife, of course, is vegan. And we've had a lot of arguments. She knows I'm not. Right? There was a little question before, like, well, maybe. And like, listen, woman. Listen. When we're at home, and when we're eating at home and all that kind of stuff, I'm not going to bring like, you know, a big thing of ribs or whatever home. But that doesn't mean I'm vegan. Went there, oh, plates of meat. Oh, it tasted so good. But what was bizarre, talking about being YouTube famous, is since we've been out, right, so in the last week or so, this was the second time I was spotted in the wild. And it is kind of funny, like you're sitting there and you're like gnawing on these ribs, and you're like, oh, I got ribs, oh, I love these ribs, oh, ribs. And you put the ribs down and your hands are still sticky and you're like, I want more ribs. And then, like, you know, you just feel gluttonous, right? Again, I'm not a perfect person. It's just like, I want flesh. And then I stand up to go to get some more flesh, deep fried flesh. And this person's like, oh, are you Eli the computer guy? And I'm like, oh, hi. Yes, I guess I am. Oh, I love your work. Shaking hands and go away. So that is a weird thing. I do have to say it is definitely a weird thing. So, like, this is getting to be the most random discovery of Eli the computer guy. Like, the most random was like literally being on a national park trail like last week. Like on a trail up Old Rag, or Big Rag or whatever it was, Shenandoah National Park. That, like being seen on the trail and getting a selfie there was weird. But then here, like I say, just, oh. And there is, it's weird like being, like I say, like YouTube famous. Because again, there's just sometimes when you really don't want anybody in the world to know who you are. You just want to sit there where you're just charcoal, blackened flesh, and you just want to go all full glutton on it. People are like, oh, I know you. I'm like, oh, I didn't even have an orange shirt on. That was the weirdest thing too. Because at least before, like, I wear this orange shirt a lot. Actually, like I say, I really do wear it. Again, no, Under Armour doesn't sponsor me yet. Hopefully at some point. But anyways, so I wasn't even wearing the orange shirt. I was like literally out there in like my crappy brown shorts and just a crappy t-shirt or whatever, just going all glutton on this meat. Hey, are you Eli the computer guy? Go away. Oh, But anyways, that is a story. Oh, that is stories from Eli Land. So I guess the big topic I want to talk about today is our strange new world. Because we live in a new world now. We live in a new world. It's been 2 days. It's been 2 days since this happened. I'm taping this Sunday night, Sunday night, and it happened Thursday. I guess it all got counted Thursday night, and then we all knew Friday. I don't know, so 2 or 3 days. But Brexit is happening. Can you believe that shit? Like, holy hell. Holy hell. What moron decided to call that fucking referendum? Oh my god. You want to talk about a politician being ass stupid? Was it Cameron? Is it George Cameron? Is their prime minister? Who the hell thought it was a good idea to put Brexit to a referendum? And then who decided that like 52% of the vote should be A-OK? This is one thing I don't understand with our voting system. Because like this is going to piss off so many people. This is going to piss off nearly half the population of the UK. They may actually even lose Scotland. There are so many ramifications of this. And it's all by 2 percentage points. Guess if there are any politicians out there watching this, in Eli's worldview, if you're going to do something such as either join the European Union or get the fuck out of the European Union, I really feel like it should be more than a 50% of the people who voted that day. Like 2/3 or even 3/4. Because like when you have something as monumental as Brexit, and it's only like 2 percentage points more people wanted it that didn't want it, at least the ones that voted, then I feel like you're going to end up with 50% of the people like really fucking pissed off when they figure out what the hell just happened, right? That is one thing I have to say. I think any like massive change like that, you really should go for at least a 60%. Because at least at 60%, you definitely have a good majority of the people that want something. Like I say, it was like 52 to like 49 or whatever percent. It was so close. And it will have such major ramifications. Now, if you were a Brit, I'm not going to go into, because I don't really care as far as the Brits are concerned. You all will figure it the hell out. But I just think it's an incredibly weird world that Brexit is happening. Because again, for me as an American, again, for the British, again, Obama already said his view of this. Again, Obama is an idiot. Again, any people in the UK, just please realize Obama says shit. Obama says a lot of stuff and then acts like he didn't actually say it. Kind of like with the whole Syria thing. In Syria, he said, using chemical weapons is a bright red line. And then Syria used chemical weapons. And he went, well, it's like an orange line. Oh, I hate Obama. I voted for Obama. I can say how much I hate Obama because I voted for Obama. He's just worthless. I was actually thinking about that today, to like think about presidents. Like I feel like with George W. Bush and Obama, it's like Dumb and Dumber. Like I'm not saying like George W. Bush was great. He got us into Afghanistan and Iraq with like no plan whatsoever. He helped create the bubble and destroy the bubble. George W. Bush was a freaking mess. But I feel like Obama, it's like, how do you get worse? How do you get worse? Obama. But just so everybody out there, if you're a UK, I honestly don't believe you're going to the back of the queue. So if anybody doesn't know, Obama, talking out his ass, like he does half the time, basically told the British that if they voted for Brexit, that they would go to the back of the queue as far as things like trade negotiations and all that is concerned. Because the issue is now that Britain, or the UK, they really can't. Is it going to be the UK, or is it just going to be England and Wales, I guess, right? Could be the UK. But basically what they said is if you leave the European Union, then you're going to go to the back of the line for trade deals and all that. And one of the issues is with the European Union. There were a lot of European Union trade deals and policies and treaties and all that kind of stuff. And so with Britain leaving the European Union, that they now have to recreate all those for themselves. Some will be better, some will be worse, and some won't get done, right? And so Obama said, if you do Brexit, you will go to the back of the line, which is a bunch of crap, because we need Britain. We need the UK. We need Britain, at least. Or I guess it's England. It's so confusing talking. Because the thing is, that's the thing, is like you got England, but then England has Wales and Scotland and Northern Ireland, and that's the United Kingdom. And so when you talk about England, are you talking about the UK, or you're just talking about England? When you're talking about the UK, are you talking about the UK, or you're just talking about England, right? And so why I say like, and that's, I don't understand Britain. I guess it's the British Isles? I'm not really sure how Britain fits into that naming convention. And so why I say, like, we may be doing trade negotiations or whatever with England and not the UK is because with the Brexit, basically Scotland voted on their own independence from England 2 years ago. And it wasn't horribly close. It was like 60% wanted to stay, 40% wanted to leave. A good number there, right? But one of the big arguments was the United Kingdom is already part of the European Union. So if Scotland seceded, left the European Union, then they would have to go and actually become part of the European Union themselves. And again, that's a lot of negotiations, that's horse trading, that's a bunch of crap. And so a lot of people in Scotland basically say, well, we hate these fucking English pricks, but, oh my God, we're Scottish. That's a lot of work right there. So we can keep drinking beer and partying and having fun, or we could renegotiate all these trade deals and everything else. So let's just stay with the UK. But the idea is that they stayed with the UK because the UK is part of the EU. But if the UK leaves the EU, what they really find valuable is being part of the EU, not necessarily being part of the UK. So why we may be doing trade deals with England is because Scotland may just be like, balls to you to England, which I would understand, and Scotland would secede, do another vote for independence. If that went through, which it looks like probably would, then they would secede from the UK, and then they would become part of the European Union. So then it would just be little old England down here, like thinking they're big crap. That's all that kind of stuff. But what I was going to say with the whole Obama thing is there's no way in hell you guys are going to go to the bottom of the queue, because you're our most important, you're like one of our most important allies, like period, right? Period. I mean, you could say Japan's a good ally, but they've only got their little self-defense force, right? You know, we can't really call on them. I mean, the UK still has a blue water navy, which basically means they can send the navy anywhere in the world. It's still got a what's it called, expeditionary level army. So basically what an expeditionary level army means is that you can actually send an army to someplace like Afghanistan. It's like when you're dealing with armies, like there are armies that are capable of defending the country. There are armies that are capable of attacking neighbors. And then there are armies that you can put them on a ship or planes or whatever, and they're qualified and capable enough. You can send them halfway around the world and blow up brown people for some stupid reason. And so they have a army that's of the quality to blow up brown people. Is that horrible? But it is true. Like, why do we feel like we can just blow up brown people? Anyway, again, like I said, that was one of the quotes from George W. Bush, dumb. The dumb part of Dumb and Dumber, like literally said when we went into Iraq that 100,000 civilian casualties was like A-okay, was acceptable losses. Like motherfucker. We lose 3,000 people and we lose our mind. We lose 3,000 people and we're willing to go to war halfway across the world, and yet we can talk about them losing 100,000 people and being like, yeah, that's acceptable. Because they're brown. It's not like they're people, Eli. Not like they're people. We're people. We're people. They are. But anyways, so again, they're like our most important military partner. They really are. I mean, like think about it. Like Australia. I like Australia. I think that's a good military partnership. But they're not that important, all in all. Canada's nice. Is it really that? Probably the UK is like the most important military partner we have. So they can't go to the back of the line. If nothing else, we have to do some trade things with them, because the last thing in the world we want as a military partner, is again part of NATO, is for them to kind of to actually hit their NATO quota by an ass backwards way, right? So anybody in NATO, so NATO is a North Atlantic Treaty Organization that was created during the Cold War to combat the Warsaw Pact. So the Warsaw Pact was all the Soviet Union's allies, and we had NATO, which was all of our allies. And the idea is if you attack any one member of NATO, then you attack us all. So, you know, France? Anyways, UK, a whole bunch of countries are part of NATO, right? But one of the things with NATO is, and that's one of the problems with NATO, and this is one of the reasons why Trump wants to get out of NATO, which I'm not actually against. Again, NATO's purpose was to battle the Warsaw Pact. That was like damn near 30 years ago when that fell apart. So why do we still have an institution that the point died 30 years ago? But anyways, but one of the big things with NATO is that I think it's like 2% of your GDP. One of the requirements, I think it's like 2% of your GDP, a country's GDP, they have to use towards military defense spending. As I understand, I don't think there's any real criteria on what that has to be for. It's not like you have to buy an aircraft carrier, you have to buy tanks. You just basically have to spend 2%, somewhere around there, of your GDP on military. Well, again, remember, in business and in math, there's always more than one way to hit the number, right? Again, cost of resources versus how much you sell, blah, blah, blah. So one of the concerns could be is if we really do put the UK to the back of the line, that they could end up spending like 4% of their GDP on military defense spending, which at first you go, wow, that's amazing. They're spending twice as much on their military as the rules say they have to. But it could happen because their GDP itself just fucking tanks so much that what they've already decided to pay for the military ends up being a higher percentage. Again, it's a percentage. It's not that you have to spend $100 million a year on your military or $50 billion a year on your military, right? It's not every country that's part of NATO has to spend $50 billion a year on the military. It is every country in NATO has to spend 2% of their GDP. And again, there's two ways you can hit that number. You can either increase military spending to the point that you hit 2% GDP, or your GDP can tank so that whatever meager amount of money that you're spending towards military defense then happens to be the 2%. So Obama is not going to put them to the back of the line because there is already a lot of concern about recession, depression, everything else because of the UK leaving the EU. And the last thing in the world you want to put on top of that for our most vital military partner is then to not do trade treaties. If Obama or the next president does not fast track trade treaties with the EU and with the UK, I'm sorry, then they're just a bunch of worthless assets, which may be the case. But just from a common sense standpoint, we can't watch the UK tank. We have too much invested in the UK. We really do. I mean, that's what I hate with Obama. And like, how the fuck do you say? It's just like with the red line in Syria. Like, I remember when he first said there's a red line in Syria, and I screamed at the fucking radio. It's like, how can you be that stupid? Because you know these bastards are gonna do it. And then none of us want to go to war over Syria. We can't figure out Iraq. We couldn't fucking figure out Afghanistan. We don't understand Libya. We don't understand any of these people. We don't understand these people. They don't understand us. This is not something you want to go into a war with. I remember talking with like some of the people in Europe about that. With the whole Iraq war was going on, it was turning into a mess. And one of the things like a lot of people don't understand, like because everybody always points to World War II and how it ended up and how things worked out pretty well. Between the original enemies. But the thing is like in Europe, everybody's basically on the same page, more or less. They speak different languages, they have a little bit different, they have different foods, they have different cultures, but most of the Europeans actually play by the same rules. And it's like one of the rules that the Europeans play by, is that if the leader says, we lost, then you give up. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying Nazis weren't still fighting for quite a while after the war officially ended. But basically, by and large, it's accepted. One person the winner, one person is the loser, right? The loser The loser hangs their head. They get the punishment. The winner isn't supposed to be a sore winner. So yeah, you're gonna smack the loser, but you're not gonna do it too much, right? You got this thing. Well, again, like I say, with the Middle East, they play by an entirely different playbook. Lose? Lose isn't in the fucking equation. Losing. They're still fucking fighting. Again, ISIS. ISIS is like, we don't surrender. Right? And again, and that's one of the things to think about, like with like the Middle East and all this kind of stuff. And again, something to think about for you folks when you're dealing with people from a psychological standpoint is what happens when people look at the world in an entirely different way than you do. What if your enemy doesn't accept losing? Like, that's just not in their vocabulary. Like, losing. What does that mean? I've never heard of this thing called losing. Have you heard of this thing called losing? I haven't heard of this thing called losing. I have heard I keep fighting until I die. And I'm still alive. So I'm going to keep fighting. Right? And so, like I say, with the whole thing in Syria, I mean, that's why are we going to get involved with it? Right? But anyways, he said red line. And then again, like I say, with the whole UK thing, oh, you're going to go to the back of the line. Oh, don't. Obama. But anyways. Why this is important is because a lot of people now, a lot of technology professionals, and a lot of professionals, now have to worry about a world that did not exist 1 week ago. Right? And this is an important thing to understand for your professional development and how you're going to go in the world, right? Because again, I keep talking again and again and again and again about the most important thing in the entire world for you to get ahead for professional development is not your MCSE, it's not your CCNA, it's not your college degree. It's things like thinking skills, it's things like motivation, it's things like discipline, and it's things like the grind. Because what you find out is in the real world that the situation can change incredibly quickly. And all of these certifications and qualifications you've been building up for to go for a certain job or something, all of that can disappear in the blink of an eye, and you're left with nothing. So if all you have is a college degree, or all you have is an MCSE, and the world changes overnight, then what are you going to do? And this is where I tell you folks, that's why you should think about being, like I say, an overall well-rounded professional. Because again, I get a lot of people saying, well, what happens, Eli the computer, Eli, well, what happens if YouTube does whatever, YouTube blows up, or YouTube kills your channel or whatever. You're not going to be such a smug-ass bastard then. And I look at him, I'm like, well, no, I still will be a smug-ass bastard. Now, I may have my tail between my legs for a couple of months, but I'll figure it out. Because as a technology professional, not an MCSE, not an MCP plus I, not a Avaya, Definity, Audix technician, and all these other certifications I've got. But as a technology professional, the thing is, even if this blows up, I can do something else. I can go and work for INE, or I can work for CBT Nuggets, maybe, doing educational online videos. Or I could go and I could teach in person. Again, not what I would prefer, but I could do that. Or I could go be a salesperson. Again, I know all this stuff, frontwards, backwards, all the way around. Selling this stuff would be relatively easy. Go off and I could be a CIO. Could go off, could create another company, doing whatever, IoT or something else. I'd have to figure it out. But again, being a well-rounded professional means, like, I don't want this to blow up. Believe me, I don't want this to blow up. And I'm not saying it wouldn't suck. It would suck donkey balls if this blew up. But I'm not worried about it in the 5-year time frame. Like, how would I pay the bills over the next year if this blow up? That's a question. I'd figure it out, but that's a question. But in 5 years, I know that I would be successful because I would figure something else out, and then I would just go and grind along with that. And that's what a lot of people don't think about, is they get so focused on, no, Eli, I want to be this thing. And then that thing goes away, and they don't know what else to do. I get this with a lot of the people that want to be technology professionals, and they want to get their A+. Eli, I want my A+, and I want to become a computer repair professional. It's like, well, that's stupid. That's just dumb. How much does a computer repair professional make anymore? $12.50 an hour, maybe? You know what I'm saying? You go out and be a consultant, and you can charge $50 for a repair. Like, maybe. Well, look, that's a lot of money. No, it's not. If you actually have to do client acquisition costs and all this other thing that goes on, $50 for a repair absolutely sucks. That business, that job, is gone. again, if you're 50 years old and you've been doing it for 20 years, you can probably chug along and continue to do it for a while, maybe even until you hit retirement, because you already have all those clients, because you already have all that work, you have all that stuff coming in, you already have all the equipment. You don't have to outlay for new servers or new whatever, right? But you get all these new people. It's like if you're 18 years old. Oh, that's a brutal thing. But they have this idea. They have this focus. They don't want to be technology professionals. They don't want to make the world a better place. They don't want to solve problems. They want to do computer repair. And that's when they're screwed, right? If you want to solve problems using technology, man, there's a crap ton of money out there to make. If you want to be a technology professional, there's a crap ton of money out there to make. If you want to be a computer repair professional, you're fucked. Right? But again, everybody gets so focused. And why this whole issue with Brexit really puts us into focus is because think about all the people's lives that are going to be massively changed because of a 2% swing in the vote, 52 versus 49 or 48 or whatever on the whole for leaving the EU. Because the issue is, like with the EU, as part of the EU is the immigration, right? So all members of the EU can allow people to move and work in any others, right? So somebody in France can go to the UK, somebody in the UK can go to Spain, somebody from Greece can go to the UK, right? And you can just go to the Schengen zone. You can just go and you can just work, and that's great. Well, the problem is what happens to all those people that have gone to the UK, and now that Brexit is going to happen? Do they now have because it'll take 1 to 2 years to officially do. Does that mean they have to leave in 1 to 2 years? So you have a great job. Let's think about that. You have a great job. You're making a lot of money. You're making Mama Mia proud. You're Italian. You went to the UK. You're doing amazing things. You know, sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. Your company loves you. You love your company. You're doing amazing things with your work. And now all of a sudden you have to worry about that in a year or two, you are not going to be allowed to stay in the UK. Now they say you will be able to stay in the UK. But again, who the hell knows? And what happens if you lose your job? And again, like I say, with networking with people, it's all geographically local, right? You know, I know a lot of people in Baltimore. I don't necessarily know a lot of people in Austin, right? So you've spent your career. You're an Italian for whatever reason. You spent your career in some place in the UK. You have an incredible network in the UK. You know people in the UK. You know the companies in the UK. You understand the dynamic of the UK. You understand the infrastructure in the UK. You understand all of that. And now you're being told in a year or two you may have to leave and go home, and basically lose all of that. And again, the most important thing, the most valuable thing, one of the most valuable things you will ever have in your life is your Rolodex. Your Rolodex is everything. The person that you can call up and say, hey, I just got laid off. Hey, I just got fired. I need a job. And they go, damn, I've been waiting for you to say that for a long time. I got something for you, right? And you haul ass, 2,000 miles away back down to Italy. You don't have any of that stuff, right? So all these people, like I say, anybody that was in the UK, and then all the people in the UK that have been going and doing stuff in the rest of the EU, they have to figure out what they're going to do next, right? And then, now there's this whole thing, well, Brexit will take 2 years. Anybody that's currently in the UK will be fine. But then you also have to think for all the people coming out, that are coming out of college, that are going to be graduating in the next 2 years. They used to have a job market that was this big, right? And you got to think about it. I mean, again, the French and the Italians and all that may get really fucking snooty about the English language. Oh, I can speak English, but I don't, right? Bite me, right? Anyways, but here's the thing, like world finance, world business and all that is done in English. So if you're from England and you get qualified as a computer scientist or technology, any of these professions that are pretty mobile, that means, like right now, well, a week ago, you had a huge job market. You could theoretically go to work in France. You could theoretically go to work in Italy. You could theoretically go to work in Greece. You could theoretically go to work in Spain. And now you might be saying, well, how the hell would some computer scientist or financial person or whatever get hired in Greece? They don't have any money. But again, remember, technology professionals, what do? We make things more efficient. You pay me $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 in a year so that I can save you $5 million. So you look at some place like Greece, and you might be like, Eli, they don't have any money. But if for $100,000, I can show you how to save $500,000. They do have the money for that type of thing, right? So a week ago, if you were graduating in the UK, you had a huge chunk of the world that was wide open to you. And now, that doesn't exist. And so all these people that are going to be graduating college and high school and all that in the next 2 years, guess what? Your entire world just changed because of a 2% vote. And this is the important thing to understand about why you should be well-rounded, why you should be flexible, why you should know a lot of things. Because things like this happen again and again and again. Like I say, with the technology world with the UK, it's very interesting. There's a lot of startup companies. I think they're just being pissed off right now. I think a lot of startup companies are threatening to go to Europe, continental Europe from the UK, simply because they're being a little pissy. Because there's a lot of people, a lot of startups in the UK. Again, UK, London is a good place to do startups because there's a lot of money, got a lot of financial stuff. Plus, it's the hub of a lot of commerce and money and travel, and it's English speaking, so there's a lot of startups there, but they're all trying to focus on the European market. So a lot of the startup companies are thinking that they'll actually have to leave London, they'll have to leave the UK to go to mainland Europe, right? Paris or Berlin or something like that. Berlin is supposed to be a good place for startups, right? And so that changes a lot of things. That changes, again, if you're in the UK and you're doing your startup company and you're living in your mom's basement, it may make your startup company viable. The exact same amount of money, the exact same product, the exact same revenue and all that kind of stuff. If you have to move it to Paris, where you can't live in your mom's basement, now it may not be so viable. All of these things happen. And so these are the kind of things that you just have to think about. And it's one of those things that's very important for understanding, like how quickly the world can change and why you shouldn't be so focused on these goals and these pieces of paper, right? It's one of the, it really hits home for me being a member of Generation X. So I am a member of the generation called Generation X, right? And so there's 4 generations that we currently talk about. We have the greatest generation, bite me, but hey, they deserve their due. You have the baby boomers, you have Generation X, and you have the millennials. Well, here's the thing. 2 of these generations are just named for things that kind of categorize them. Right? So you got the baby boomers, and the baby boomers are called the baby boomers because when the greatest generation came back from World War II, they had a lot of sex, and so there was a baby boom, right? So that's why they're called the baby boomers. And then you have the millennials. The millennials are called the millennials because they came, they were either born or they matured or whatever right around the millennia, right? So I don't know, is it kids born from like 1980 to 2000, right? Millennials. So those are just named, basically, right? Whereas then you have the other generation that is actually named for what was considered the attribute of the generation. So you have the greatest generation. The greatest generation, right? And we all, right? These are folks that lived through the roaring 20s. These are folks that lived through the Great Depression. These are folks that lived and fought and got through World War II. And then they went and they pushed technology and all that up into the space race. And basically their big time in the spotlight ended with landing on the moon, right? So these are folks that went from barely having airplanes, cars barely being a normal thing, all the way to the moon landing. They're the greatest generation. Wow. So right? Well, then you have Generation X. And what's really funny when people talk about Generation X now is Generation X has become such a normal thing to talk about that people forget the meaning. They forget the meaning of Generation X, and they forget the pain that we went through as young members of Generation X, right? What people don't realize is Generation X basically meant the worthless generation. The reason we were called Generation X, because there wasn't supposed to be much to say about us. And again, it seems weird now in 2016, but you have to understand, when I went to high school in the early 90s, graduated in 94, the battles had been won. The fight was over, right? My parents' generation had Vietnam, and we learned our lessons from Vietnam. So we were never going to get into such an asininely stupid war again, right? So we weren't going to have asininely stupid wars like that. You have the whole Cold War with Soviet Union. Soviet Union disintegrates in 1989. So the Cold War is over. Food, again, it's funny, people complain about bellies and exercise and all that kind of stuff. Food was so common for my generation. That's when they started complaining about kids being too fat, and the comfort levels were so high. That's when they started complaining about kids being too lazy. And so we were going out into this world where the wars were over. The battles had been fought. We were in a time of peace, but what that meant was there was nothing left for us. We were just Generation X. Generation blank. Not generation fill in the blank. Just generation blank. We were going to be the miserable generation, especially going into the 90s when we had our own recession. Right? It was just like our generation was supposed to be meaningless. And again, I don't think anybody even remembers that. Even the fucking baby boomers who propagated this horse shit. I don't like baby boomers. But anyways, even the baby boomers don't. But that was the thing. We were the slackers. We were the slackers. We were grunge. Our movement was grunge. The fuck is great? Grunge is just grunge. It's called grunge, right? When I was in high school, grunge was like the thing. You're like, oh, right? But then to realize all of the things that have happened since then. I mean, the .com, like, when you think about the internet bubble, and you think about how the internet has changed everything, again, what a lot of this generation doesn't even realize is, remember Bill Gates? He's an old fucker right now. But back in the day, he was a young fucker. He was a fucker, though. Right? He was a young fucker back in the day. And he wrote this book called The Road Ahead. I believe he wrote this book in like 93 or whatever. I remember when it came out. And I actually had the edition of The Road Ahead. There ended up being 2 editions of The Road Ahead. Do you want to know why? Because when he wrote, like Bill Gates, when he wrote The Road Ahead in 91, 92, 93, whatever the hell it was, the first version of The Road Ahead that got published, it's not like I had one of them, or one of, 5 that got printed. I mean, this went into, bestseller or whatever. The first version of The Road Ahead spoke nothing about the internet. When he wrote The Road Ahead back in the early 90s, the internet wasn't really anything that he gave a damn about. Bill Gates didn't give 2 thoughts about, didn't give 2 shits about. Again, a couple years later, shoved in a couple of new chapters, just so he didn't look like a complete moron. But that was the thing. So when we talk about the .com boom, when we talk about the internet and how that has changed everything, that happened on a dime. That happened so quickly that somebody like Bill Gates didn't put much thought into it before it actually happened. So we had the .com boom, then we had the .com bust, all of the stuff that went along with that. Then we had September 11th. Then we had going into Afghanistan. Then we had going into Iraq. Then we had, during that time, we had the financial bubble with housing prices and all that kind of stuff. Then we had the housing collapse. All of these things happen. And then once they've happened, everybody looks back and goes, oh yeah, hindsight's 2020. I can see that happening. But you don't realize how the world changed so quickly and how lives changed. Again, like I say, when I went off to backpack through Europe, everybody I knew thought that I was on the 5-year retirement plan. Again, I'm very good with technology. I can talk with business people. And so everybody I knew thought I was on the 5-year retirement plan. They're like, oh yeah, Eli's going to be one of these Silicon Valley people. All right? So when I went off to backpack through Europe, right, when apparently the bubble was popping, I didn't think twice about it. I was not worried about my career one iota. So I'd been doing all this technology stuff. I had all these certifications. I had my college degree. I'd done a lot of cool things. And so basically my thought when I went off to Europe was that, okay, the next job that I'm going to take, I'm going to be CIO tracked. Again, at like 24 or 25, I had already been offered like decent level management positions. Again, if I had done those at the quality I'd done the other work, boom, 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 boom. And so what I looked at is like, okay, well, if I come back and I'm CIO tracked, that means I'm going to be working 10, 12 hours a day, blah, blah, blah. And so everybody says that you should backpack through Europe. Everybody says that you should backpack through Europe once in your life. So hey, isn't this the perfect time to backpack through Europe? I've got money in my bank account. I can go backpack through Europe, and then I come back. And okay, maybe it'll be a little more difficult hopping to a new job once you get back from Europe, but like a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, that took a day longer, right? So I go off and I backpack through Europe. Oh, when the dot-com bubble is bursting. And then again, none of us really thought it was too bad, right? So I came back. I got a stupid job, stupid, young adult job where you could drink. I did event sets, like bar mitzvahs, and I went up to Madison Square Garden, and you set up all these things for like events, right? And that was really cool because I was with all like young people, and again, you could drink and you could fun. I mean, it was a type of thing where after you did a big project, the boss would give the team lead the credit card, and we basically say, you have $500, and then we go and we drink through and eat through $500. That was really cool, right? So, I came back, and it was soft in the tech market, but I was like, okay, no big deal, I'll do this. And then the tech market was still soft, so okay, I'll go backpack through India, right? Because I got money. And then I get back from India, I'm like, okay, I finally got to settle down now. And that's when I realized how bad the dot-com bust was, where it had gone from companies hiring 19-year-olds and paying them stupid amounts of money to do things that they shouldn't even touch, to where it went in reverse, where even if you were qualified to do the work, the companies were too scared to hire you. Right? And that thing really happened. Again, you think about like for me, like I say, for my military career, why I didn't get shipped off to God knows where is, as I say, I got medically discharged for my wrist. So I have some kind of wrist injury. I can never really figure out what the hell it was. I have a wrist injury that basically makes it painful to do push-ups. So I do too many push-ups, it then causes so much pain that picking up heavy objects and all that kind of stuff is a problem, right? So I was in the Army. I did all this very expensive electronics training at the Army's expense. It was 1997. I was down at Bragg, where people just get the shit beat out of them just for the hell out of it. That was that was a hell of a place, right? And so basically, I was being pissed off at that time. I was being pissed off. My wrist hurt, all that kind of thing. And so honestly, I was going through sick call to get this fixed. And so I go through sick call. I get all the way up to the orthopedic surgeon. And the orthopedic surgeon looks at me and says, "Well, honestly, your wrist is a lot like, or the wrist is a lot like the back. The problem is, if we go in there to fix something, there's literally a 50% chance we will make it worse. Not a 50% chance we'll make it better and a 50% chance we'll make it worse. There's a 50% chance we'll make it worse, and then the other 50% is maybe it'll stay the same, maybe it'll get better." So he told me, we're going to put you in for we can't fix it. We're not willing to try to fix it. It's not a good idea to try to fix it. So we're going to put you in for a medical discharge board, and because it was a permanent injury. Right? And I was pissed off at the time. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Because I really honestly didn't think the medical discharge board would go through. They were like, you can fight the medical discharge board. And I was like, no, fuck you all. I don't care at this point. But I really didn't think it was going to go through. Because literally, I had this permanent profile that basically all it said was I couldn't do push-ups. This is how stupid the Army is. This is how much money the Army wastes, right? So I have there's a sheet. This sheet has 100 different fucking check boxes for everything. Anything you can think about your appendages doing right there. And literally, it's a permanent profile for not doing push-ups. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, what the fuck? So they're like, do you want to fight the medical discharge board? And I had a lot of friends that had been hurt at this point. My NCOIC had broken his back. My good friend had broken his back. My roommate had screwed up his knees. Again, Fort Bragg is just a scary place all the time, even outside of war zone. So basically, they're like, do you want to fight the medical discharge board? And I figured, it was like, no, I'm not going to fight the medical discharge board because I don't actually think it's going to go through. My thought was I was going to be pissed off for about 6 months. My unit would figure out what to do with me, and then I would serve out my time. Right, and then I would probably, get to be happier again, and then I'd probably re-up. Honestly, back then in '97, what I honestly thought was going to happen when all that whole medical stuff was going through, is I was pissed off to high hell and back. But again, I understand myself pretty well, and so basically I figured that I would get over it. It's like, I'm pissed off now, but in 6 months I'll get over it. This medical discharge will be behind me, the board will be behind me, and then I'll go ahead and whatever. And again, I was with a unit where it didn't matter. the particular unit I was with, they could do whatever the fuck they wanted, to be honest with you. And so it was really weird. So I go through and going through the medical discharge board. I figure it's not going to happen. Like, why the hell are they? They just spent a tremendous amount of money to train me. Why the hell are they going to discharge me? And then, so it's like a month or whatever for the process. And I get the paperwork back. And they're like, here you go, Eli. You're going to get your honorable discharge, and you're going to get this wad of cash, and you're going to be out of here in like another few weeks. And then I sat there. I just remember looking at it. I just remember looking at this paperwork. Going, what the fuck is wrong with these people? You just sent me through all this training. All this training. Again, I went through one of the longest electronic programs you can go through. You go through basic training. You get to permanent party. And I can do the work. I can do the only thing I can't do is push-ups. The only thing I can't do is push-ups. And so I was looking at this paperwork, and I'm like, I don't get this. I don't fucking get this, right? And so I go and I start talking to one of the NCOs, the sergeants or staff sergeants or whatever, and I look at them, and I go, and again, it's like, I'm not fighting this. I will take the cash and leave at this point, because you all be stupid. But I don't understand why this is happening. Look, you guys just paid a lot of money for me. Why are you getting rid of me over push-ups when I don't have to do push-ups? Again, the unit I was in, it was a special kind of unit. Special kind of unit. Special kind of rules. Basically the kind of rules where they can make whatever fucking rules they want type of rules, right? And so I'm like, why the hell am I getting discharged? Again, not fighting it. Not fighting at this point. You want me gone? I'll go. You're giving me cash to leave. I get an honorable discharge. Fuck y'all. And the interesting part was, so 1997, this is something to think about. 1997, they had all this stuff. And the thing was, at that point, they were trying to reduce the size of the Army. So literally, the week my medical discharge board paperwork or whatever was going through the chain of command, was right when they had gotten mandated or whatever by Congress to eliminate 100,000 troops. Like 100,000 soldiers, gotta go. Gotta go, Jack, right? And so my paperwork goes through, and like literally, the reason they pay for all this training, they get through all this stuff, right? They're sending me out the door with a chunk of cash to go away with my honorable discharge, all because right then in 1997, they were trying to get rid of troops. Because the idea, again, I was part of Generation X. What war were we going to get into? Again, at that point, the no-fly zone over Iraq was trucking along every day. Russia was in fucking tatter. Even if they wanted to get into a war, that would be a disaster. Again, China now, everybody's all scared about China. Nobody was fucking scared of China back in 1997. Like, if you looked at the world in 1997, again, getting rid of 100,000 troops seemed like a really smart idea. And again, I left because, again, I had all my buddies like just getting brutalized for a war none of us thought we were going to fight. Again, back then, you have to understand, and again, to think about how the world changed, is every time I would pick up the Army Times, the joke at that time was, I'm a soldier, not a police officer. So we were sending soldiers to Kosovo for the peace stuff over in Serbia and all that kind of stuff to keep the peace there. Somalia, right? Black Hawk Down and all that had just happened. So again, the big complaint at that time with all the soldiers was, motherfucker, I'm infantry, I'm a soldier, I'm not some police person, right? And that was 97. And then you turn around like 4 years later. Planes hit the trade center, the Twin Towers, and all of a sudden we are in the longest war the United States has ever been in, and 2 wars simultaneously. Right? Overnight, the world changed. And so this is what you should be thinking about with your professional development is, are you becoming qualified as a professional to do multiple tasks? Not, do I have my MCSE? What you should be asking yourself is, can I build a network? Can I manage a network? Can I consult with a company for them to have a network built? Can I train people on how to do all of these different tasks? Can I write? Can I create content? When you look at yourself in the mirror, you should be able to do 5 different jobs within your profession. Because you have no idea what will happen tomorrow when the job that you're focused on completely and utterly goes away, right? Again, you got to think about it. Like, I'm just talking about the United States here, but I mean, think about the Greeks, right? The Greeks are in the EU. And again, however stupid their politicians are, one of the problems is, like with Greeks, it's easy to laugh at the Greeks. Oh, look at them being stupid and look at them not paying taxes and all that kind of thing, right? But again, you got to think about it from an average Greek's perspective. From an average Greek's perspective, one day they had asininely stupid politicians, but the economy was trucking along. The next day they had asininely stupid politicians, but everything was going to hell. And again, what would you do in that environment? Could you find a place for yourself? Could you find a position? Again, you look at Syria. You know, when right? However screwed up the Middle East is, I mean, when those protests started 4 years ago, how many very successful professionals turned on the TV, went, look at those idiots, and then turned it off and went to sleep so they could wake up and do a 12-hour shift the next day, so they could build whatever little empire they were trying to build. And now that place is fucking flattened, right? Again, if you look at Europe, I mean, think about the mass immigration. Right? You know, what if you're in a job and you have 1 million people come in who are willing to work for half the salary you are willing to work for? Again, you can either again, what the populists would say is that you scream and bitch and moan about immigration, which again you should, because again, Angela Merkel, oh my golly, I just don't even grasp that. How does one person in one country in the EU basically mandate the policy for the rest of the EU? Because that's what Angela Merkel did. We'll take all the refugees that get here. And you're like, but you're in the middle of the EU, so in order to get to you, all the refugees have to go through these other countries to get there. And then once they get there, you find out your country's not quite as open to all this as you claim to be. And then after Angela Merkel tells all the refugees that they can come to Germany, screws up all the border countries, just fucks all the border countries. And then once all the refugees come, then she's like, well, it's not fair that we take all the refugees. All the other countries in the EU should take their own quota of them. And again, I do have to say, if I was a member of the EU, I would be highly questioning when the hell Angela Merkel became Empress of the EU. But the thing is, though, but that's a question, is like, what happens, like this mass migration movement? What if you have people that come in that are willing to do your job for half the price? And so again, you can bitch, whine, moan, complain, or you can take half the salary. Or, if you've been a real professional, what I would argue is you should look and you should see what these folks can't do. So if you've got Syrians coming in that can do technical work, you may not be able to compete with them on price and all that kind of stuff. But I tell you what, if you're in your country, where you were born speaking the language and all that kind of stuff, you can do training. Right? Again, that's a big thing you see here in the U.S. You have all these foreign professors or whatever come over, and none of us can understand what the hell they're saying. Again, I know we're supposed to be a melting pot. Oh my golly, right? You get some of these like Indian professors, and again, don't get me wrong, they be smart. They just be like sharp as a razor blade. If you can understand what the hell they're saying. There's English, then there's English. They be speaking English, right? English. I speak English. But that's the thing. So if you're doing this professional thing, and you have all these people that move in for half the price or whatever, and you're actually a professional, then you could focus on things like training. Okay, so we've got all these Syrian migrants coming in. They're going to take the job that I have. The job that I have is screwed, because they're willing to work for half the price. But if I'm a real professional, what I can think about is like, I know the German economy, or I know the French economy, or I know one of these economies, right? I understand how people work. So what these Syrians can't do is they can't train themselves on how local businesses operate and what local customs are. So I will let these bastards take the current job that I have, and I'll end up making twice as much, teaching 50 of them how to assimilate into our society. And again, that's if you have a well-rounded view, that's the type of thing to be thinking about. So this is what I would say. This is why I would say. And this is why I talk about, like I say, MCSEs. It's all about thinking. Again, this is why I talk to you folks about things like time. I know that seems really stupid, right? Time and communication and all this kind of stuff. Because I can tell you right now, if you're debating time, if you're debating communication, if you're debating, again, it's the whole thing of, if you start really thinking, really philosophizing about how is it possible that you can have teams created for Call of Duty or any of these first-person shooter things, that teams from around the world can be brought together in almost an instant. They all understand the rules of the game to the point they can then work as a team in order to complete an objective. And then once that game is done, that is dissolved, and they can come back for another game and another game and another game. And again, you start thinking about things like that. Because when you start thinking about things like that, then you can start thinking, and if you're in Germany, how can you bring Germans and Syrians and other local people onto a team to complete an objective, right? Because that's all we're doing. Building a house is an objective, just like, capture the flag. It's a more complicated objective. It takes a shit ton longer, but it's still an objective, right? Cleaning a house, cleaning a building, paving roads, running cable. And so if you can think about things on a wider scale like that, then you're most likely to be more successful. Again, decision makers, thinkers, leaders don't really have problems in the recessions. Again, they have their bumps. It's like Donald Trump. One day he was a billionaire, the next day he was bankrupt, the next day he was a billionaire, the next day he was bankrupt. And that's the thing, is when you're a leader, when you're a thought leader, when you're a decision maker, when you're out there doing things, you get a lot more flexibility than when you're just a cog in the system. And that's what I'd have you folks think about. Because again, the world can change in an instant. I mean, again, like I said, I think Brexit, I think, is going to be a defining moment for whatever the hell generation is after the millennials. Because this could cascade into a lot of other things. And again, like I say, whether it's good or bad for the Brits, that's for them to decide. But again, the thought that the UK could end up breaking into smaller components, or the thought that this could be the domino that basically ends the EU. If the Brits can leave, then why not have the Greeks leave? I mean, honestly, does anybody believe the Greeks shouldn't leave? Even if they come back. Leave, figure your shit out, come back in 10 years, right? And then if people decide that they can start leaving, and then if the European Union essentially either collapses or as a union becomes irrelevant, let's say, I mean, basically that means Europe on the global stage is going to be rather irrelevant. Again, like I say, in the U.S., I mean, I know the Europeans are like, oh, we're the Europeans. Now, I understand that not all Americans are assholes. I like you, but you have to understand the Europeans. we don't really look at America as if it's a really important thing. And they're like, well, let me tell you, America, we care about the European Union. But if you're all just a bunch of fucking little petty ass countries that can't even pick a single language in like a country the size of a gnat's ass, we're not. I mean, how long are we going to play that game? We got China to concern ourselves with. We got India to concern ourselves with. We got a lot of other places to concern ourselves with. And if Europe is just doing the same circle jerk they've been doing for the past 500 years, right? And again, that's the thing. Like, and I know some Europeans are like, oh, But you have to understand, like, I don't think that's... Europeans don't quite grasp that, like Americans have a bit of abused child syndrome as far as Europe is concerned, because we are the outcasts of Europe and other countries, and the white folks are outcasts of Europe. We're primarily a European outcast country, and so the thing is, we're outcasts. We are failures. We are the abused children that left Europe because many of us were starving to death while we were there. And so there's always this feeling, you know, for a long time in the United States, there's this feeling that Europe was the superior place, that is where Western culture is. That is the defining thing of Western culture. And then no matter how much money we make, no matter how big our military is, we always kind of feel inferior to these pissants, right? It's kind of like, that's why I call it abused child syndrome. Is imagine you have a father who's a coal miner that injures themselves in the coal mines and is just a complete and utter fucking abusive alcoholic. Just an abusive, nasty alcoholic. Barely graduated high school, only made money when they're working in the mines. Now they're getting their Social Security and they're being an asshole, right? And you go out and you get your law degree and you're making money and you got a penthouse condo. But you know, every time you go back to see that little bastard of a father, you never feel like you're good enough. You never feel like you're good enough. Even though that pissant is fucking a quarter the person you are, but you always kind of feel inferior. Until the day, one of those days you go back, and you're just like, fuck you. I don't need this shit anymore. And they just get disowned, right? And this is the thing that I don't think Europeans quite grasp, is they kind of walk around, they're all smug and all that kind of stuff, and it's like, Americans are getting tired of it. Really are. I mean, again, I'm blunt about these kind of things, but you talk with America, and again, like I say, this whole ego of the Europeans, it's gotten old. We don't care about you. We care about you because of NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. That's what matters. But we got China. China fucking matters. India, whenever they work things out, they matter. Europe, those are just a bunch of the equivalent of trust fund kiddies burning through what their great-grandparents built. Right? So that's what I worry about with Europe. Because I was hoping with Europe, I think a lot of I talked with a lot of Americans back with the EU, you know, as I was, you know, younger adult. And what we really wanted out of the EU, honestly, and this is the ironic thing, as snotty as I was, for a lot of the younger, like my generation, when the EU and the Euro and all that got put out there, one of the things that we really wanted is we really wanted a powerful counterbalance to the United States. Americans wanted a powerful counterbalance to the United States. Because that's a nice thing with Europe, right? Europe is different, but it's not too different. It's not like, what the hell? It's not cows walking down the middle of the road. It's different, but it's not really that different. So if you had the United States that was very powerful, and then you had a very powerful European Union, that would be a massive counterbalance to us. That's not too horribly different. We could agree on a lot of things, we could disagree on a lot of stupid things, and overall, right, things would work out. But again, Europe is just going through the same stupid-ass circle jerk it's been doing for the past 500 years. So they're fucking worthless, right? Who cares? Who cares? Again, there's a lot of us that want the fuck out of NATO. Right? And so we look at it, then it's like, okay, then our counterbalance is China. It is really different than us, and our counterbalance is India. And so that's what's so sad for me, like I say, seeing all the mess that Europe is in. Because you're just like, oh, but we wanted you to be powerful. We wanted you to be strong. We wanted you to make sense. But again, whether it's Greece is Greece, whether it's Angela Merkel, as one person be like, we will accept all the migrants. Let's basically ignore all the border countries that have to deal with this. Whatever the hell's going on with France, all of it, it's just sad mess. And so I do wonder if Brexit will be like one of those defining moments where basically Europe kind of just spins back off and do its jerkery. I don't know, and then fails. Because you do wonder with Putin. Putin is crazy. He's as crazy as a goddamn polar bear. But here's the thing. You don't say shit about a polar bear being crazy, because that's a big motherfucker, right? I mean, that's the thing, like I say with Europe. They're like, oh, look at how peaceful we are. It's like, have you seen Russia? Russia's not too happy about its place in the world. And Putin is making it known that they're not happy about their place in the world. Oh, I don't know. But that's my thought. Strange new world we're in. In a single day, all things can change. And again, like I say, that's where, whether it's September 11th, or whether it's a dot-com bust, or the financial crisis, or whatever else. Again, it's just how everything can change so quickly. Like I say, with Brexit, did anybody really think Brexit was going to happen? Did anybody really think? I mean, honestly, like, even with Brexit, I mean, that's the thing, like, it sounds so horrible, but I mean... Oh, I really thought the UK government would fuck with the ballots, to be honest with you. It was like, the UK government's like, darn, 50.9% of the population said we should stay in the EU, and, 49.1% said we should get out. Darn, it was so close, Leavers, but you just missed it by... Did anybody else kind of figure that was going to happen? Did anybody else kind of figure, like, that you're just going to look at the voting results and know they were completely tainted? But then everybody kind of shrugs their shoulders and keeps doing what they're doing. I really thought that was going to happen. But we shall see. We shall see. So any Brits out there, I don't know. You'll be curious to be a Brit right now. You have the curse of living in interesting times. Being a Brit over the next probably 5 to 10 years should be a rather interesting thing. Because it will be curious what happens. Because like I say, if the UK, can you imagine, I mean, like... Yeah, I mean, it would be weird enough, like, if Texas seceded from the United States. Right? That would be weird enough. But that would be like, imagine if, like, Texas seceded from the United States, but then, like, literally broke up into 4 of its own individual countries. That would just be so bizarre. Anyways, I don't know. Maybe the euro could come down. The pound's come down quite a bit. Pound has lost 10%. It's lost like 10% in a day. And again, like I say, from a financial standpoint, like if you were investing in foreign countries, I mean, it's a joke now, but like, I laugh at it. But it's like, if you invest, if you're somebody in the UK that has British pounds, and British pounds have remained fairly stable and fairly valuable for a long time. And so you were buying foreign things, or you were paying with foreign things in British pounds. The British pound lost 10% of its value. So that would be like, if you had $10,000, now you have the equivalent of $9,000. Right? So if you're going to go on a vacation, right? What if you had saved up for $3,000 to go on a vacation, I don't know, to Spain or whatever. Now, instead of having $3,000, you have the equivalent of $2,700. Which will make vacationing very, very good. I don't know, a lot of people said, Eli, come do Silicon Trailer in the UK. Maybe it's time to go and do Silicon Trailer in the UK. It'll definitely be a bargain. Because I can tell you, traveling in the UK is brutally expensive. That sucked. When I backpacked through Europe, that was a thing. Like they told me, yeah, I understood the whole difference in money. But I figured it was like, okay, well, if it costs $1.50 to get a pound, then I figured when I would go to buy a Coke, if a Coke is $1, I figured that it would be like 80 pence. No. A Coke is a pound. It's very interesting how prices work. Prices are very much on like whatever the normal denomination in that country is. So like you go to the UK, and if you could buy a Coke in the US for $1, you go there and the same Coke will be a pound, but a pound costs $1.50. So therefore, you're paying 50% more for that Coca-Cola, right? So I don't know. Maybe we go now. Paying $1.40 for a Coke. Yeah, I don't know. I say that Brexit thing. What the fuck? What the fuck, Brits? What the fuck is wrong with Europe? Why can't you just come together? Why can't you just come together? I mean, like, because that's the thing, like, with Europe is like, because you got the United States. The United States is, right, we're stable enough. Again, there's this whole idea of a Texit. Texas is going to secede. But they had like 2,000 people show up to a rally. So, I mean, like, we're stable. China is more or less stable. India is more or less stable. And so, like, and then you have, like, Europe, like, all these weird-ass little European countries all just arguing over stupid crap. I don't know. Very sad. I know I'm smiling, because you gotta smile and laugh. But like I say, if the European experiment fails, I wonder what'll happen. Again, I'm just looking at it from an American standpoint. Europeans out there, you guys may love it. You may be like, fuck the Brits, or fuck the continent. I'm just saying from like an American standpoint, I really wanted a good counterbalance to the United States. I really, 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 really did. And now it seems that's not going to happen. Now it seems, you know how like you look at something and you're like, well, at least it can't get any worse than this. Like I say, yeah, the whole Greek debt crisis thing, that's still going. That's still. And you know, you got the Greek debt crisis thing going on. That's still going on. Then you have the whole German and the whole refugee crisis on top of that going on. And then you have the whole whatever the hell's going on between Europe and Turkey going on. Right? And then you have like Russia at the border playing around, right? Doing some screwed up stuff. And you just look at that, right? You got Russia doing some shady shit. You got Turkey, I'm not really sure if it's shady, doing some weird shit. You got a massive debt crisis. You got a massive refugee crisis. And then, hey, let's throw Brexit on top of that. Oh, what the fuck is wrong with Europe? I'm just tired of it too. Again, God bless all the Europeans. I like Europeans. I don't like Europe. I like Europeans. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm sure my viewers are good Europeans. It's the other Europeans that I'm talking about. But it really is. Like, this whole, like, European snottiness, I am so fucking done with it at this point. I am so, like, the next European that comes in with that smug-ass attitude, I'm just gonna be like, fuck off. Well, that's not very polite. No, it's not. But just shut the fuck up. You fuckers can't even figure out, like, single languages for countries the size of a gnat's ass. And yet, you go around with, like sticks shoved up your ass and, oh, we are so superior. No, you're not. You're living off the trust funds of your great-great-grandparents. But anyways, I just probably pissed off some Europeans there. Oh, well. I'm sorry. It feels good. It feels cathartic to get it out. You don't understand. Because, again, I travel a lot in the world. And I deal with a lot. Like, when I say Europeans, it really is. Whether it's the French, or whether it's the Italians, or whether, you know, who the hell it is. They all have this smug-ass attitude as far as the United States is concerned. And it's just like, it's like with Brexit. It's just like, I'm done with you people. I am done being the polite guy as far as Europe is concerned. Like, okay, well, isn't this quaint that another European is looking down on me? You motherfucker. Anyways, it's just like I'm done with it. I'm just done with being polite with this snotty ass Europeans. You know what? Come back when you folks are able to create a modern whatever the hell country, organization, whatever that mess is. But anyways. But it is a curious thing to think about. It is a curious thing. In a week. So anyways, with that, I've been blabbering about for an hour and a half. But that's not too bad a thing. I was so happy. I'm so happy now being able to upload these videos. Because now that I compress them down to that 500 megs for an hour, like normally when I do these videos and I upload them, I'm biting my nails. I'm like, is it gonna work? Will it keep going in the middle of the night? Will the computer reboot? Will there be a power outage? You know, will this work? And it was so nice, like when I uploaded the last video, like on Thursday, I uploaded it for Friday. and 500 megs, and using the local wireless connection here, it was so quick. I hit like upload. My wife asked me a question. I turned around. I gave her like a 1-sentence answer, and then I looked back, and the video was like already 13% uploaded. I was like, oh, that is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. So I am going to be playing around with the encoding, just so you all know. I don't feel like I have found the perfect encoding in the small format. There's all these things you can change as far as the encoding is concerned. There's size, and there's it's not frame rate. Bit rate. There's bit rate. There's all these things to change. So I am tweaking around with it a little bit. But I do have to say, the size, the overall size of these video files is exactly where I want them to be. A 500 meg video file getting uploaded just makes my life so much easier. It's just like, boop, done, right? As far as anybody complaining too, what I have found is so many of my viewers, they either have this on in the background, so they're not watching the video anyway, or ironically, like I am so worried about, like I wanted to do like 4K video or 1080p 60 frames per second. And again, one thing to keep in mind is what your customers or your clients actually can use. And what I have found in a lot of the comments is that many people are saying that, you know, they can only get 144p or 340 or whatever anyway. That even at the low level that I'm encoding this at now, they still say that's higher than what they're able to access. So it's actually not as bad as you may think. So that's a thought for the day. Oh, it's good to babble into a camera. It's good to babble into a camera. Get that off my chest. I just can't believe Brexit. I really can't. Like, it's like I keep looking at the news, like that didn't happen, did it? Like refresh. It's like refresh. This is a joke. This is a joke. Please tell me Brexit is a joke. But it's not. It is real. It is real. And it's going to affect a lot of people. But again, what are you going to do? The important thing to think about with how to be successful in the world is, do you have skills? Do you have the ability to solve problems regardless of the environment? Right? And if you do, then you will keep going, you will keep trucking along, and whether it's a year or 5 years or 10 years from now, you'll be okay again. It's the people that basically stop working that are screwed. Really and truly. Again, as I say, not getting paid or not getting paid well is honorable. It is honorable. There's no shame in not getting paid well. There is a world of shame in not working. Because the problem is when you stop working, your skills atrophy. The skills that you have already built up, they atrophy, right? Because you're just not using them every day. You're not learning any new skills. You're not communicating with people. People aren't communicating with you, and you're not on anybody's radar, right? And so the important thing to think about, and that's where I say with business, you know, with business you can do anything. Like if you have a computer company, this is what I used to tell my employees. It's like, as a computer company, we can do anything. You could build websites, you could repair computers, you could run network cable, you could even simply build computer desks, right? Back in the day, people had computer desks, and so be like, well, build your IKEA computer desk for you, right? It's whatever people need, and if you go out there and you do it, like I say, then you stay doing stuff. Again, like I say, if you have all these, let's say you're one of these countries, right? And you have all these Syrians, you have all these fucking migrants coming in, stealing your fucking work, taking all the fucking tax money, fuck, right? Here's the question. Are they gonna leave? Again, let's look at the United States as far as immigration policy goes. Whatever the hell Trump says, the reality is we got 13 million people that ain't going home. You know what I'm saying? So you can either bitch, whine, moan about the people, or you can figure out what you can do to support those types of people. Right? So again, like if you have all these Syrians coming in and you want to be a technology professional, Well, if they're coming in, what are the chances that they have computers and internet access and all the kinds of things that they need? So although normally, the last thing in the world I would suggest anybody do is to set up an internet cafe in 2016, maybe that would be the business. Go into the section where all the Syrian migrants have come in and set up an internet cafe. Get cheap computers, throw Ubuntu on them, plug them all into a network so all these folks can come in, and then put in Syrian, however the hell you say it, I don't even know what the hell character set they use, internet cafe, right? Because at the end of the day, as a technology professional, does it really matter whether you're supporting Syrians or Germans or English? No, what's important is the technology. Again, if you have Syrian technology professionals coming in, and they can do work, again, like I say, cheaper than you, think about, hey, can I set up an education program for Syrian tech professionals? Or you could try to run the Syrian tech professionals just like the Mexicans get run in the United States as far as landscaping businesses are concerned, right? Because that's the thing. Any landscaping business, you've got like 10 Mexicans running around that don't know one word of English and like one person that understands English. And so you go to the one person and you say, hey, what the hell are they doing? And the person goes, hey, blah, 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 and then goes back, okay, this is what they're doing, right? And so maybe that's it. Maybe you could be like the Syrian tech whisperer. Right? Hey, if you've got qualified Syrians who understand how to do web design, and they'll do web design relatively inexpensively, right? Copy and paste this paragraph onto that web page with this font. You don't have to worry about what the hell this paragraph says. Just make sure it looks pretty, right? Things to be thinking about. Or again, in the modern world, everybody wants to teach every nitwit technology skills. And again, God bless the Syrians or anybody else, but do you really need to be teaching them web programming or whatever else if they don't already know it? But maybe that's it. Create a non-profit that teaches Syrian refugees web programming. How valuable will it actually be to them? I wouldn't want to fund it, but you're helping Syrian refugees learn professional technology skills. That's like catnip to donors and foundations, right? But again, that's what you need to be thinking about with the world, is how do you change, how do you flex? And again, like I say, for me, that's how I became a consultant. That's how I got into it. Like even getting my MCSE. I only got my MCSE because of the black dude I talk about every once in a while, right? I was on that criminal justice track, on that track to get back into paramilitary stuff, and ran into a guy, said, hey, you should look at this MCSE stuff. And then again, it's 23 years old, got a really good job with really good benefits, with a hell of a lot of responsibility, and went, this is kind of nice. Again, I was flexible. When the dot-com boom happened, I was willing to go along with it, right? When the dot-com bust happened, that's when I was running around trying to figure out what the hell to do, and ended up being a consultant. Being a consultant worked really well. Went along with that, built up my business, had the employees and all that kind of stuff. That's when the financial crisis hit. Our clients basically just closed up their wallets, didn't want to spend a dime. One thing led to another, ended up doing the YouTube business, the Eli the Computer Guy channel, with now 712,000 subscribers. Still making me money. I haven't done a video there in a long time. Still makes me good money, right? But again, that's, when I talk about being a professional, that's what I mean. When opportunities come up, you go for them. I went from all the paramilitary, that kind of stuff, the technology, worked in the corporate world. When that didn't work out, whatever, was able to go to be a consultant, was able to build that up, When that didn't work out, was able to go over, create the YouTube videos, coast along with this kind of stuff. Now again, as I say, the IT world, nobody fucking believes me, but whatever. That's entirely changing. So now with that, I take all the other skills that I've learned. Now I'm doing Fail Normal. And again, it's not much right now, but we just passed the $300 a month mark on Fail Normal. That's actually been relatively quickly. So we're up to $210 a month on ad revenue and $96 a month on Patreon. So that gets me to, what, $304. I call that coffee money. That's like the first, like when I look at money as far as a business is concerned, the first level is coffee money. Like if you're not making at least $300 a month, it's really hard to call what you're doing is a business. It's like you're doing something, and hopefully it'll be a business at some point. But if you're not making at least $300 a month, it's not really a business yet. But again, we hit the $300 a month mark. And so, I mean, everything's tracking up. So I'm sure it'll be $1,000 and then it'll go up from there. But again, I'm using the skills that I learned. So you take one thing, you know, technology professional to this, to this, to this, to this. So that's why I can say, whether YouTube blows up, whether we go into another financial crisis, whether we get into a war with China, which, the Pacific pivot, don't even get me started, I know that I'll find a place. Do I know what that place is now? No, because I don't know when it'll happen. I don't know when it'll happen. Again, I honestly didn't figure when I decided to end Eli, I didn't figure that by the time I decided to end Eli the Computer Guy, that I would stay doing YouTube content. Again, I was like somebody else. I didn't have full faith in content creation, to be honest with you. Again, obviously my opinion has changed. So now as Eli the Computer Guy dies, I'm now continuing on with content creation. This wasn't the plan before. Again, I could have gone in 5 or 6 different directions. But I'm able to go in 5 or 6 different directions because I have all of these different skills, and I can look at what the market wants. What are people willing to pay for? It's not what do I want to do. It's not what do I want to do. It's what do people want to pay for. And like I say, for me, it's the dulcet tones of my ASMR voice. Does this send a tingle up your spine? Because apparently a lot of people said it does. So you know what? I didn't even know what the hell ASMR was. Like 2 months ago, I didn't know what ASMR was. And somebody's like, my God, I just listened to you for that ASMR high. I was like, what the fuck is ASMR? And it's like, oh, and you know what? It seems weird to me. I'm not gonna lie. It seems really fucking bizarre. Like you look at ASMR and you're like, okay, I put a tingle up your spine, and that's what you go for. But you know what? If I can make money off of ASMR, God bless. Spaghetti monster bless. You know what I'm saying? But that's the thing is, so many people are like, no, Eli, you don't understand. I want to do computer repair. You're like, but computer repair is dead. No, but I'm going to do computer repair. No. But look, you can do website design. Website design makes you a lot of money. No, I want to do computer repair. Oh, no, look, you can do content creation. Again, tell everybody. Again, not necessarily content creation like I'm doing, like talking to a video camera. But again, I mean, like content creation is where websites were back in like 1995. Every business needs content, and nobody provides it. Again, if you're going to do a website, and you're going to do a website for an RV park, or you're going to do a website for a roofing company or an interior design company, video is valuable. Very fucking valuable. And so you can have a huge profit margin for really not doing a whole hell of a lot of anything. We're going to come in and we're going to do a video for you, and we are going to give you a 1080p 60 frame per second, blah, 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 only for $1,000. And you come in and you spend an hour videotaping a lot of stuff. You go home, you spend another hour editing it into a video, you send them the file, you just made $500 an hour. And they go, wow, that's nice. Can we get a couple more? Right? But again, that's the thing, is if you want to be a technology professional, or whatever professional, there's a lot of opportunities out there. There will always be opportunities out there. If you want to solve problems, there will always be very valuable opportunities out there. If you want to be a computer repair professional, maybe today you can make some money. Maybe today you can pay the bills. But if you are that die hard on this one thing. At some point, you're going to be fucked. I don't know whether it's going to be Syrian refugees. I don't know whether it's going to be the Brexit eliminating you from the European common market. I don't know whether it's going to be a financial crisis. I don't know whether it's going to be a war. I don't know. But something is going to fucking trash you at some point. And again, if you can roll with it, you'll have a year of bad times or 2 years of bad times, but you'll get through it. If you don't roll with it, you're just going to be screwed. So anyways, I think I've used my soapbox for today. But with that, we'll call it a day. Again, for all the Europeans out there, I love you. I'm talking about the other Europeans. No, I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about those other Europeans. I'm talking about the other. That's the thing, like I say, you deal with Europeans, and they're like, no, I like you. It's the other Americans. You're like, you snotty ass bastard. Anyways, so today is where I declare American independence from European snottiness. As of the Brexit, you have lost all snot rights. All snot rights have left you with the Brexit. At this point, because it is so funny, like I say, you just look at it, you're just like, how can you still be snotty? How can you still be that arrogant? And like, oh my golly. But anyways, that was me for the day. Wonder if I'll get any drops in subscribers. My 5 European followers. Fuck you. Hey, anybody there who wants to give me crap about laughing about Europe right now, you'll get your chance in another 5 months or 4 months or whatever it is when we have President Trump. If it makes you feel any better, the only thing stupider than Brexit, in my eyes, is President Trump. Which, of course, because the Europeans always need, it's like God is like, Spaghetti Monster is up there, just doing that one little thing to make the Europeans feel just a tiny bit more superior. So you know, just for that fact alone, that Trump will be president. Just so the Europeans can be like, oh, well, we may have 3 languages for a country the size of an at's ass, but you have President Trump. And then all the Americans will be back to, okay. Here's your snot rights back. You're authorized to be snotty again. Oh, I don't know how this happened. Oh my God, we live in a weird world. It's a fucking bizarre world. And like I say, the funny thing, again, we talk about the world change, a strange new world. Again, I just want anybody there to think about, if you're young, or any of the Gen Xers out there, just remember back to 1990. Like 92 was the first Gulf War. Like think back to the end of the first Gulf War and the recession and everything else back then. Could you believe what would happen over the next 15 years? You know what I'm saying? Like my generation was I mean, we were fucking late. We were called out as the worthless generation. Again, Generation X now may seem all like cool or whatever, but literally Generation X basically meant like generation fucked, generation worthless. It was like Generation X because there just wasn't anything to say about us. And now look at how the world has changed. We now live in a time period where they're talking about Mars colonization like soon. And it's not a complete asinine joke. I mean, like, and that's the thing, like that now we are at a point of private space exploration. Right? I mean that, and then I may actually still be young enough to like participate in that when it's happening. It's just mind-blowing. I mean that we live in a time when I think the plans for it got shelved, but they were talking about a private expedition to essentially grab an asteroid, put it into, there are these gravitational points in space, but basically plop it into that point in space so that it's close enough to the Earth so that we could use robots to mine it. And like, this is actually something that's under consideration. This isn't sci-fi. This isn't Isaac Asimov. This isn't Gene Roddenberry. This isn't George Lucas. This is people sitting around a table going, well, let's see. A satellite would cost this, and a booster rocket would cost this, and robots would cost this, and, well, I don't know, what's the value of an asteroid? The value of an asteroid is probably this. So the return on investment for robots, spacecraft, and all that kind of stuff, minus big-ass asteroid equals, and like it's literally now, it's a business plan. And again, I mean, you think about that. Think about how, and again, like I say, if you're in Australia is dealing with issues right now with since China, the Chinese economy is contracting, and Australia was booming off of minerals, off of resource export to China. But then again, like I say, if you're in Australia and your economy is resource driven, coal, steel, iron, that kind of stuff, what happens to your country when an American realizes that they can mine an asteroid for material and send it back to Earth for a fraction of the cost of what you can do, like literally on the planet? Because that's what they're talking about, like with these asteroids. They're just like a huge percentage of valuable material. So instead of having to go through all this crap on Earth, and again, worry about environmental damage and worry about people dying and all this kind of stuff, you can just mine the crap out of an asteroid. You mine the crap out of an asteroid, you don't have to worry about water leakage or chemicals or any of that kind of stuff. It's up in space. So again, like, what happens to Australia when the first company is able to successfully mine an asteroid? Anyways, those are my thoughts for the day. I've been talking for like 2 hours. This is almost a daily blob. It's almost, but not quite. So anyways, I'm going to try to keep it down to an hour length. I do want to keep them at an hour length. It's just this whole Brexit thing just kind of blows my mind. Again, I mean, you can just see the little gears in my head turning over Brexit. Because it's just like, yeah, where the hell will this go? Because again, when you think about Brexit, in Europe and just their little clusterfuck. And then again, you think about Trump. And again, like I said, Trump is pushing to get the fuck out of NATO. And again, if you've got a nice, strong European community, it seems kind of foolish to get out of NATO. When you got Europe doing the same old circle jerk it's been doing for a long time now, it starts to seem like, really, the only sensible idea is to get out of NATO. Because look at them. Do you trust them as military partners? Anyway, strange new world. Strange new world. Anyways, with that, we will call it a day. Damn it. I know I've been saying that for like 45 minutes now, but it's true. We will call it a day, and I will see you folks tomorrow. Last day here in the Smoky Mountains.